I've painted this box with Americana Decor chalky finish paint, but for this video we're going to concentrate on image transfer. The first thing you will need to do is horizontally flip the image. In other words, make a mirror image of the original, especially if text is involved, otherwise once transferred it will be in reverse. I've dampened this print with water just to make it transparent so I can show you what would happen if it's applied when it's not mirrored, and you can see the text is reversed. Once the image has been mirrored, finally print your image to the size needed for the project. Now you can use both laser and inkjet for this technique, but you'll get much crisper and vibrant transfers with a laser print. If you don't have a laser, most copy and chops use laser and they'll print them for you, otherwise you can use your inkjet. The smaller transfer will be applied to the side of the box here, and what often happens when you apply a transfer like this is you'll get unsightly lines just on the edges. So when you remove the paper, you will see an edge there, but I'm going to show you in this video how to completely eliminate that. Now the transfer for the top of the box, this is a lot easier because I've actually cut the transfer to the size of the lid, so there'd be no lines around the edge. It's going to cover the whole substrate. I'm going to be using the Media Matte Medium for this technique. It's absolutely amazing for it. And I'm just going to apply a thin layer over both the transfers. Now you don't want this thick at all, but do make sure you get right up to the edges. So once it's applied, we just leave this to dry. And I'm going to do exactly the same to the lid of the box, making sure I get the medium right on the edges. Now for the smaller transfer, I've cut around, I've left about ½ an inch around the edge. Some people try to cut right close to the transfer, and you don't want to do this. And now I'm just going to tear and pull the waste towards me. And I'm going to tear like this all around the edge. And what this does, it gives you a feathered edge. The edge is a lot thinner, and as I said earlier in the video, I'll show you how to eliminate those unsightly edges. So this is the first step towards that. The matte medium is now dry on the transfer, and it's also dry on the lid. So I'm now going to apply a generous coat of the matte medium to the lid. And again, making sure I get right on the edge. And then simply, face down, stick your image. And you can use your fingers to really burnish this down and work the thick glue out to the edges. It's a good idea to use a brayer or a squeegee to really get that paper bonded to finish off. For the second transfer, I'm going to apply the matte medium on the transfer itself and not on the substrate. And the reason I'm doing this is so that I know the whole of the paper is covered with the matte medium. And again, make sure you get to those all important edges. I'm now going to pick up very carefully the transfer, avoiding taking the matte medium off, and apply this to the box. And then burnish it with my fingers to start with, making sure that those edges are really stuck well. There's a little bit I missed here, so I'm just going to pop a little bit of matte medium in there. And I'll finish off with the brayer. Now I've dried the images for about half an hour in front of a fan heater, but I would advise leaving it overnight if you're not in a rush, because if the matte medium isn't dry, you're going to take away your image. Now all I'm going to do now is moisten the surface with a wet sponge and let that water soak in for a few seconds. Okay, so now with the same wet sponge, I'm going to start rubbing a little bit harder in circular motions, and you'll start to see the paper coming away. And you can see the transfer there, quite visible underneath. So I'm now drying with a heat tool, and you'll see as it dries, this will show up that there's paper still there. You still haven't removed all the paper, and you'll see it now probably just on the right and on the text. You can see it starting to turn white. Okay, I'm quite happy that I've removed all the paper now on the lid. So I'm going to go on to the next transfer, which I've already done, and there are lines visible, but not half as bad if I hadn't torn that paper first. I'll try to zoom in, so hopefully you'll just about see the lines where the torn paper was. But it's not bad at all, but we're going to take it a stage further and completely remove those now. And for this I'm going to use 280 P280 grade wet and dry sandpaper, and I'm going to add a little bit of water to it, and just gently and very gently sand these edges, and we're just going to feather them out even more, and this will remove the lines completely. And the reason I left that ½ an inch around the actual transfer itself was so that I'd have enough room to work with the sandpaper without actually damaging the transfer itself. There you go. You can't even see it now. So the only thing left to do now is to seal the surface, and for this I'm going to be using the Media Ultra Matte Varnish. This will give the whole surface the same sheen. It's a completely flat varnish which really does suit the chalk paint, and it will also give your image transfers more contrast. So I'm just going to apply a nice even coat. And now the exact same for the box itself. Also this matte varnish, if you do have any lines visible, and you really shouldn't if you follow what I've done here, it also helps to hide them as well. So here's the finished box, no lines visible around the edges, and I really hope that this tutorial has helped and answered a lot of questions. Thanks very much. For more information about the media range, please visit Deco-Art.com.